The awards ceremony. This is a favorite time of each festival. It's a time for us to recognize our people, our tellers, and I'm just going to turn it over to the awards committee chairman. And I'd like to introduce him because he has taken time to introduce all of us so many times. Dr. Hank Robacek, Professor Emeritus of Communication Studies at the University of Houston downtown. He's an award-winning educator, consultant to many organizations, founder and lead host of So What's Your Story on Houston's KPFT 90.1. He also hosts his own podcast, The Story Voice. He's hosted over 700 storytellers on these programs over the past 15 years, many of whom are seated in this room right now, including me. He is the author of several books, including most recently, So What's Your Story? Discovering the Story in You, published by Kendall Hunt, and contributor to Studies in Mythology by Oxford Press. His research in narrative expression has made him an internationally sought-after speaker and workshop facilitator. He's the contributor to Houston Matters, a Houston Moth storytelling champion, member of the National Storytelling Network, and board member of TSA. He's past president of the Houston Storytelling Guild, and he's the recipient of our own prestigious Trailblazer Award. He's also the passionate advocate for tolerance education and a veteran docent of the Holocaust Museum in Houston. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Hank Robacek.
Wow, well, that explains why I got this gig rather than Billy Crystal. So that explains it all. Thank you all for being here. The Awards Assembly really is so very important to our association. An association is only as good as its membership, and this is a stellar membership, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. And it's just, well, I look forward to this every year, and I just look forward to interacting with you and learning more about storytelling, and more importantly, learning more about you. Now this evening we're going to be presenting 3 awards. We'll be presenting in order the Martha Lynn Nelson Special Services Award, the Marvin Brown Volunteers Award, and of course the John Henry Falk. Apparently no one blazed any trails this year, which I have a hard time believing. Hint, find somebody who blazed a trail for next year, please, because the Finley Stewart Trailblazers Award will not be presented this evening. Some of you were asking about the Colson Herndon Award. That is for educators, and because we're having the conference in June in Houston, to which all of you will be attending because it's so refreshing there in the summer. It really is. In the inside it's air conditioning. Bring a jacket. It's the only time you'll need a jacket in Houston. We look forward to seeing you there, and that is where the Colson Herndon Award will be presented. Before we move on, I'm going to ask Pam Pipkin, who helped me in the awards committee, to talk a little bit about the nature of these 3 awards, just in case there needs some clarification, or if any of you forgot. Pam?
The Martha Lynn Nelson Award has been seen as an award that wasn't given every year, but the quality of our membership has been so impressive and consistent, we need to give this award every year. A member earning the award must spend countless hours participating in every role known to a dedicated TSA member. Leadership, performance, and any task which connects TSA with the greater storytelling community. Because of this individual, our craft becomes more visible, more credible, and more loved. The Marvin Brown Volunteer Award is unlike the Special Services Award in that it centers on contributions which enhance the reputation of TSA in the greater Denton area and beyond. Marvin Brown volunteered his time by initiating storytelling events across the state of Texas, as well as helping future youth tellers by serving as their coach and advocate. The recipient of the Marvin Brown Award contributes time and effort, which ultimately presents TSA as the premier storytelling association in the country. The John Henry Falk Award. A native Texan, John Henry Falk was a master storyteller, chronicling the stories and lives of friends and relatives through the years. More importantly, he used storytelling to fight bigotry and hatred, and he was a staunch defender of the First Amendment. He was more than a talented teller. He was an activist who cared deeply about human experience. If TSA had an Academy Award, the John Henry Falk Award would be described as the trifecta: Best Actor, Director, and Film. It is indeed the most prestigious award given in our storytelling community.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Pam. That was great. I'm going to ask the recipients of last year's award to come up to the platform and announce this year's recipients and make a few remarks about them before we have the recipients come up and greet us. First, I'd like to ask, let's see, Valerie? Val, would you come up, please, and announce the Martha Lynn Nelson Special Services Award?
Good evening. It is with great pride and pleasure that I make this announcement. The recipient of this award has served TSA in many capacities over many years. This person has assisted the Grants Committee with grant interviews and attending Denton events. This person was active for years in an affiliated guild, the Tarrant County Guild, and was instrumental in co-founding another guild, the Little D. This person has worked tirelessly in the Story Store, making it an integral part of every TSA event. This person promotes TSA at every opportunity. Her hard work and dedication are evident in her service, more than once as Festival Artistic Director, more than once as TSA board member, where her ideas and enthusiasm carry us forward into the future while celebrating the past. The 40th annual publication was her idea, and the TSA virtual program series was inspired by her successful Zoom festivals. She will once again be the artistic director for 2025. She is most deserving of this award. So why don't you, I think you've guessed who it is by now, so please join me in announcing the name of the 2024 Martha Len Nelson Special Services Award recipient, Jane McLaughlin.
Okay, I have 2 minutes, I think. Okay. I have learned a lot in the many years that I have been with TSA. One of the things is the organization is only as good as those that help it run. Please join me in thinking that. Let's make TSA successful, more broad, and fun to be in, okay? Second thing I have learned, as I go out and talk to kids in schools and wherever I gather them in the teepee, all cultures have music and stories. And that's what we are doing, is sharing those, mostly the stories, but sharing the cultures with other cultures so that we better understand them and begin to love them and accept them. Y'all, it has been a lot of work. I have learned a lot more than what I just said, but it has fulfilled me and helped me grow. If you're looking for finding out who you are and where your strengths are, this is a great organization to learn in, because they are accepting of your many mistakes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jill. So deserving. Next, I'm going to ask Dean Keith to announce the recipient for the Marvin Brown Volunteer Award. Dean?
So recognition of service is often given for those peak moments when crisis arises and someone steps in to help in its resolution. In contrast, there is a tendency to take for granted those pillars among us who continually provide the bedrock that keeps us strong and resilient. This year's awardee is one of those pillars. When there was weakness, she gave her strength. When there was need, she sacrificed to fill it. Her commitment to this organization inspired others to follow her as she led the way through difficult times to make the improvements needed. Despite her health concerns, she keeps active, keeping her storytelling alive in every community she serves. It is my honor to present this year's Marvin Brown Award to Rain Teller. Now, Rain isn't here tonight, but Hank has something from her.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you so much. I had the honor of talking with Rain the last couple of weeks. I've known her, but I didn't really know her. She is the kind of person who dispenses compassion at every turn. I always believe that a good storyteller is able to stretch the boundaries of the human heart, and she does that incarnate. She's just an incredible person. And she asked that I read this to you. And by the way, you know how you go to some of these assemblies and they say, please don't take any pictures? Take as many as you can. I just wanted to mention that to you. We are recording this so that we can send this to Rain immediately after this assembly. This is what she wants me to share. To all my TSA sisters and brothers, I'm so sorry that I cannot be with you. I'm going to send a fuller acceptance speech to our newsletter so that you can see the full scope of what storytelling has meant to me. For purposes of brevity, let me just say this. You may call it volunteering. I do not. I am an interfaith minister, a rabbi, and a maggid, which means Jewish spiritual storyteller. I'm a Jew who lives by the laws and teaching in the Torah. I do mitzvot, which means good deeds, acts of loving kindness, every day, in every way possible. Our world is fractured, broken, hurting. Our stories are real, and they can have a very healing, comforting effect on the listener. And if my volunteering, for which you are honoring me tonight, brings healing, truth, love, compassion, and grace to anyone, then when I get to heaven and Hashem asks, were you the very best rabbi that you could be? I will be able to say, yes, I was. I know that she will so much appreciate your well wishes. And now I'd like to ask our friend Sue Coots to announce the John Henry Falk Award.
And can I use your sisters? Do you mind holding this stuff right here?
Of course.
All right. This year's recipient for the John Henry Falk Award will be given posthumously to our beloved string man, Dave Titus. Dave is one of the founders of the Oklahoma Territory Tellers and an active TSA workshopper and teller. Many of you remember that I had invited him here last year. I hope you saw him, heard him, spoke with him, because he was amazing for our youth storytellers. He put on a workshop not a single child or adult will ever forget. Who was Dave Titus? Being a string man, he brought compassion, love, tolerance, hope, feelings of hope to all that would listen to him, watch the fun that he had and the stories he told with these strings. He certainly built bridges for all. And it is my hope that he is listening to us right now, this entire weekend. And may he fly away close enough so that we can see him. Oh, I hope I'm doing this right. Oh, shoot. So we can see him and hear him in the stars. Let me get this going. And here we go. Up high in the sky. Yes. It is because of David, as many of you storytellers know, that we are working with strings. These string stories are from all around the world, which is where he traveled. Always trying, through his ministry, trying to show the kids and their families the power of love, the power of story, the power of feeding them, not just the physical food, but also the emotional food from his heart to their hearts. And I know the entire world was weeping for him when he passed. We will miss him, but we know he is always in our hearts. Thank you.
We are going to ask Chester Weems, a good friend of David, to please come up and accept the award for him. Chester?
And this award is, he's accepting it on behalf of Dave Titus's family and for the Territory Tellers in Oklahoma.
Sue did that so well, as she always does. I do have a couple of thoughts I'd like to share. I'm here primarily representing the family. I've been in communication with his daughter, Stacy. In Oklahoma, we always thought of David as Noki, and I think you did too. Turns out he's from Ohio. I want to talk a little bit about his memorial service in January. Half the people showed up at the memorial service with strings. At the reception afterwards, several people spoke. Quite movingly, a man flew in from Alaska whose family had worked with him with string art over the years, an indigenous family from Alaska, and that was interesting. At the the reception, that's the deal. The guy from Alaska and David's grandkids were out doing string figures, and that was just kind of neat. But other people that spoke did not talk about his stories, although he was obviously a good storyteller. His going to tell stories were more interesting than his stories. You know, getting arrested in Egypt, doing counseling in a desert in Mongolia. And he never knew how he was going to get back, he said. One of the stories was he was telling stories in Eastern Russia. Hadn't figured out how he was going to get back and wasn't worried about it. Things always worked out for David. He's just that kind of guy. A year or so ago, I went down to Lawton and spoke at a church, small church we worked with. And after we did the thing, the lesson on collecting stories, what the topic was, I was with him in the back little kitchen where he was slicing bread and giving me a lesson on the best ways to slice bread to make sandwiches to distribute to people who are hungry. That's what he did. I first met him the very first time we were talking earlier, and we were talking about feeding people in jail, because he said they eat bologna sandwiches all the time. And he would hustle food. So people that spoke at his service were really talking about his compassion and how he had changed their lives. Had nothing to do with stories. That's just a tool. But several people spoke on that. It was just that part was really quite moving. 2 or 3 years ago, he said he was going to start he's going to do his biography. And I said, I can help you with that a little bit. He sent me a few pages. And in it, he said, early on, I set out, I wanted to be a world-class storyteller. And I think, I don't know if he made that or not, I think it was really good. But I do think he was a world-class man. And I'm proud to have known him. So thank you very much. I get this credit.
Thank you, Chester. When I first joined associations many years ago, I always kind of created in my mind this acronym R-A-R-E, which is to acknowledge, recognize, and endorse. And that's why I believe in these awards so much. And I'm very grateful for all of you being here and being attentive. I'm particularly grateful for all the beautiful remarks, beautiful sentiments offered by our membership. And I'm going to ask Rick to make a few closing remarks. But in the meantime, God bless all of you. And not only will I see you next year, but hopefully countless years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hank. We appreciate the hard work of the awards committee. Hank has chaired that committee for 3 years in a row, and he's remaining on our board, so we are hoping for another year. So thank you very much.